Mm. So I notice that some yogis while in the dining hall, uh, when they're moving about quickly and uh, carelessly, mm, without noting, mm, moving about as if you're not in a retreat. So obviously, you have forgotten mm, to note on what you are doing. Okay? Mm. So we have to remind you again to do everything with noting. You have to remind yourself as a yogi. Okay? You have to remind yourself again and again, especially during the uh, daily activities. When you know that if you are not careful, mindfulness can easily get lost. Right? So you have to remind yourself constantly, remind yourself to keep noting, noting, noting every moment. Okay? Mm. Only if you note continuously, then only your mindfulness develop and your practice can progress. Okay? Mm. So otherwise, if you fail to note during the daily activities, there will be a huge gap in your noting. You, you can be very mindful during the walking, very mindful during the sitting. But if during the daily activities you're not mindful, you fail to note, there's a huge gap in your development of mindfulness. Okay? And then the mindfulness cannot develop its momentum, cannot develop its strength. Okay? Then you cannot make progress in your practice. Also, some yogis, I observe during the walking meditation, the eyes wandering about, looking here and there. Mm. Mm. Often, when I walk past some yogis, their eyes will turn to look at me. This means that your attention is not fully, completely with the walking process, noting the footstep, lifting, pushing, placing. Okay? Mm. Your attention is inclined outwards. Okay? So some yogis also, when they reach the end of the walking path, especially when they were doing the walking meditation outside in the corridor. So when you reach the end of the path, you just stand there and look around at the scenery. Okay? Mm. So during walking meditation, okay, your eyes should not be wandering about. Okay? You should not, eyes should not look up, should not look left, should not look right. Okay? Eyes uh, must look down on to the floor in front of you. Okay? And the attention must not incline outside. Okay? It must be firmly inclined inside. Okay? And your attention should be 100% on the noting of the footsteps, noting of the lifting, noting of pushing, noting of placing, stepping, and so on. Okay? Mm. So, if a desire to look should arise, the urge to look should arise. Then you must immediately note that urge, note that desire. Okay? Note it, but don't act on it. Note it. Take a step back from it in your mind. Take a step back and then note it firmly. Okay? If you note it firmly, the desire, the urge will disappear. And once it disappears, you no longer want to look inside. Then you incline your mind inside again and bring the attention firmly back to noting the steps. So if you can train your attention in this way, train your attention till it's 100% on noting of the footsteps. Okay? Even though your eyes looking on the floor in front, but because your attention is completely on the footsteps, your eyes will be unfocused. Mm, mm. So everything will appear blur. Okay? Because your whole attention, mental attention is on the steps. Okay? And you see just enough so that you do not bump into things. Okay. Your whole attention there will be on just the walking process. Okay. And only if you train like this, then you can make progress in your walking meditation. If your attention keeps, you keep allowing your attention to be distracted outside, uh, mindfulness will not develop, and then you will not progress. Mm. Also, during the walking meditation, when you're doing your walking meditation, uh, should you see us, either myself or the Cialis walking past? Okay? So you don't have to stop and Anjali, pay respect. Okay? Understand that this is a Buddhist culture. It's a very good culture. Okay? But during meditation, you're doing a walking meditation. Okay? So if you stop uh, uh, to Anjali, okay, then this will interrupt with the continuity of the development of mindfulness. Okay? And then your mindfulness cannot build up fully. Okay? Mm. So during a retreat, when you are on a retreat, okay, mm, you don't have to do this. Okay? Your practice is more important. Okay? So don't interrupt the practice in order to pay respect. And just carry on with your practice. Just keep doing your walking meditation. Okay? Mm. So by continuing with your meditation, uh, you're actually doing the highest puja to the Buddha. So what you are practicing, Vipassana meditation, is called Dhamma Nudhamma Patipatti. Okay? And that's the practice of the Dhamma that leads to the realization of the Lokuttara Dhamma, of the Magga, Phala, and Nibbana. Okay? So Dhamma Nudhamma Patipatti, the practice of the Dhamma that leads to liberation, the attainment of Magga, Phala, and Nibbana. And the Buddha says, a person who practice this Dhamma Nudhamma Patipatti properly, carefully, um, he is doing the highest puja to the Buddha. Okay. So you continue to do your puja to the Buddha. Continue your meditation. Don't interrupt it just because we walk past. Mm, mm, Also, another thing is to point out is uh, if your mind during walking meditation, if your mind is really focused just on the walking, as we said just now, your eyes will be unfocused, things will appear blur, your vision will appear blur. uh, So you won't even know who is it that walked past. You may not even have an idea somebody walked past because your whole attention is turned inwards and not the process of walking. Okay. So the fact that you see us and then you stop and you Anjali, that means your attention is still distracted outside. Okay? Mm. So turn your attention back inside, more firmly, to note process of walking. Okay, so now we return to our regular Dhamma talk. And so in the last talk, we were discussing how to note rising, falling as primary object during sitting meditation. Okay? Mm. So here I'll just very briefly recap what we have uh, talked about, okay? For the benefit of those who were not here the last time. Okay? Mm. So rising, falling refers to the physical sensation of the natural movement in the body that is connected with our natural breathing. So when we breathe in naturally, somewhere in the body, there's the word movement. Okay? So the sensation connected with that upward movement is the rising. And similarly, as we breathe out, there is a downward movement. So that sensation connected with that downward movement is the falling. Okay? Mm. And you can discern this sensation of rising or falling uh, either in the abdomen or in the chest uh, or in the diaphragm, around the diaphragm. So wherever you feel this movement connected with the breath most clearly, okay, and you direct your attention there. And that is the rising falling. Okay? Mm. So as soon as movement occur, whether it's rising or falling, as soon as it occur, immediately you must direct your attention to the sensation uh, and direct it there and then make effort to feel it clearly and to follow it continuously from beginning to the end. Okay? You have to make effort. Okay? And as you're noting, the noting mind must synchronize with the movement. Okay? Must move together with the movement from beginning to the end. Okay? The noting mind and the movement must be together all the time from beginning to the end. Okay? And as you are noting rising and falling, you can use the mental label. Okay? So as you are noting the rising, you can put a mental label on it. Just say very softly in your mind, rising, rising, rising. Okay? When you note the falling movement, you can put a mental label very softly in the mind, falling, falling, falling. Okay? So this label, this act of labeling helps to sustain the continuity of the noting mind. Okay? Mm. So, so first you make effort to follow the rising, each falling. You make effort to follow from beginning to the end. Okay? So once you are able to follow quite well, then you begin to make effort. Huh? And as you are noting the rising, falling, and make effort to feel clearly the physical sensation connected with the rising and falling sensation, tightness, pressure, pushing, expansion, contraction, and so on. Okay? Mm. And noting, when we say note, uh, note the object, noting must be 100%. Okay? When you note the object, the entire mind, 100% of the mind must be on the object they are noting. Okay? Mm. So that means complete, wholehearted attention just on the object that you are noting. Okay? So if in the present moment you're noting the rising, your whole mind just on the rising. Mm. You are noting the falling, your whole mind just on the falling, nothing else. Okay? It's as if uh, there's nothing else in your world except that object. Okay? So you should not know that yeah, half here, half there. You're noting rising, falling, and then the pain arise, and then half your mind go and note the pain, half the mind still try to follow rising, falling. Then your attention will be split, and mindfulness cannot develop effectively. Okay? So you must be 100% just on whatever object that you are noting in the present. Okay? Mm. So this also means one noting only one object. Okay? Don't try to note one noting more than one object, two object, three object. Okay? One noting just one object. Right? Mm. So different moment of noting, you may be noting different object. Okay? One moment you're noting rising, next moment you're noting falling. Okay? One moment of noting only one object. Okay? Not more than that. Okay? And the whole mind completely with just that one object in that moment. So as you are noting rising and falling, uh, various other objects may arise. Okay? So now, if this object that arise not strong enough, not prominent, do not distract your attention, does not pull your attention away from rising, falling, then you can ignore them, okay? And stay with the noting of rising, falling. Okay? Mm. Yeah. But if they are strong objects, prominent object that pull your attention away from the rising, falling, then you must turn your whole attention, 100% of your attention. uh, Turn your whole attention away from rising, falling. Turn towards this new object and note that object. Okay? Mm. So this object is called a secondary object. Okay? So secondary object means uh, any other object other than the primary object that has a reason that is prominent enough, strong enough to pull your attention away from the primary object. So, so if the secondary object in this way is strong, it can pull your attention, then you must note it, okay, with wholehearted attention. Mm. So, for example, as you're meditating, there's in this Dhamma hall, there's a lot of sound around here all the time. Eh? Mm. So the sound of birds singing, the sound of the leaves blowing in the wind, the sound of the sometimes the farm animals in the next door land, the sound of opening and closing of the door. And sometimes the workers come around here to work in the garden. uh, So also some sound they make. Even right now, the sound of the insects. Okay? Mm. So, so there are always the sound around. Okay? Now, this sound, it can usually be ignored, because they're not loud enough, to pull your attention away from rising, falling. So you don't have to note them. So stay with the noting of rising, falling. Okay? Mm. Otherwise, if every single sound that arises throughout the day, you keep noting, then you'll be very busy and noting the external sound all day. Okay, so let's say the sound is not strong enough to pull your attention away. Stay with the rising, falling. Mm. Mm. But if it is loud enough, strong enough that it pulls your attention, distract your attention, then you must immediately uh, turn your whole mind away from rising, falling, uh, and turn it towards the experience of the sound, okay? And note that experience of hearing. Okay? You can note it, hearing, hearing, hearing. Okay? Mm. So as you're noting, hearing, 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 okay? Don't dwell into uh, what is the sound, what is the story behind the sound. Okay? So you go and think, what sound is this? Or is a sound of the bird singing? Or then you start to think, oh, what bird is this? It sounds like one of this bird I've heard before last time when I visited this place, and then on and on and on. The thinking will go non-stop. Okay? So you'll be distracted. So don't pay attention uh, to what is the sound. Okay? So just pay attention to the bare experience of the sound. uh, The sound as it is, just a sound. Okay? Not what sound it is, just a sound. What sound it is not important. Okay? Just be clear. It's, there's the sound, there's a hearing of the sound. Okay? Experience of the sound. Okay? So just pay attention to the bare experience of the sound. The fact that there is the experience of hearing. Okay? So you're not hearing, hearing, hearing. Yeah? Not until it disappear. Then, so when it disappear, you have to train your mind, to be clearly aware when it disappear. Okay? So for beginners, this may not be easy. Usually, often you miss. So, but you must train. And you're not hearing, 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 and when it disappear, be clearly aware and disappear. Okay? And then when you're aware it disappear, then immediately return your attention to noting rising and falling. Okay? Mm. Don't linger there. After the sound has disappeared, don't linger there. Take a rest. Immediately, the attention must go back to noting rising and falling. Okay? Noting must not stop. Okay? From noting rising, falling, when the sound appear, uh, without a break in the noting, immediately attention turn to note, hearing, hearing, hearing. As soon as the experience of hearing disappear, finish, immediately the attention come back to note rising, falling. Okay? Noting must go on continuously. The various physical sensations can arise in the body also, as you are noting rising, falling. In a hot afternoon, you feel sensation of heat. uh, in the morning, when it's cold, you can feel a sensation of coolness. eh. Sometimes you may feel sensation of tightness or sensation of pressure or of pain, of itchiness, and so on. Mm. So again, if this physical sensation, bodily sensations, they are very mild, not prominent, it doesn't distract your attention from rising, falling, then you can ignore them, okay? And remain with the noting of rising and falling. Okay? Mm. However, if they are very strong, they are dominant, they pull your attention away from rising, falling, then again, you have to turn your whole attention uh, away from rising, falling, turn it towards the experience of that sensation, and not that experience. Okay? You experience heat, you not heat. uh, You experience coolness, not coolness. You experience tightness, not tight, or tightness, and so on. Okay, so again, don't dwell into the analyze the sensation, dwell into the story behind it. Okay? So don't, for example, when experience heat, uh, just heat enough. Don't go further than that. Not just the bare experience of the heat. Okay? Don't go thinking, why is it so hot? Nowadays it's so hot. Why? You start thinking, global warming, climate change. And then you start to think, what is the cause? And so on and so on. It never ends. Okay? So just let the bare experience, heat, just heat. Just not heat. That's enough. Okay? Mm. So in Vipassana, we not just the bare experience of whatever sensation that is present in that moment. Okay? So we don't dwell into the why, the how, the what, and so on. Uh, So Vipassana, we do not exercise the intellect. Okay? Intellect means thinking, analyzing, reflecting, considering, and so on. Okay? We simply observe clearly, or as clearly as we can, and observe without thinking. It's just a nothing is just the bare observation of bare experience in the moment. Mm. So if heat arise, just not heat, coolness, just not cool enough. Not more than that. Just stop at the bare experience. Don't go beyond it. Mm. So you note the sensation. Note it till disappear. So when it disappear, be clearly aware that it has disappeared. Then immediately return your attention to noting of rising, falling. Right? Don't stay there any longer. Don't linger there and wait for something else to happen. Immediately return the attention to note the rising, falling. Now, sometimes when you're noting this physical sensation, the sensation can become more and more subtle. Okay? Mm. So sometimes it can be so subtle that it's difficult to note. Okay? And so when it becomes subtle, uh, then you have to make effort, uh, make extra effort to take note of that sensation. Make effort. Okay? So stay as long as possible and note it. Okay? Mm. Now, in order to note subtle sensation, mm, so the mind has to be very relaxed, okay? Soft. You have to soften the mind, okay? Uh, So soft but energetic. Yeah? You need energy also in order to note a subtle object. Okay? The mind, the noting mind needs to be soft. The noting mind is hard, rigid. It cannot note subtle objects effectively. Okay? Mm. So it's like subtle objects. Yeah, it's like sand, very fine sand. Okay? So in between the grains of sand, there's very tiny holes. Okay? Mm. So, if you take water, water is soft. You pour it on the sand. The water, because it's soft, it can go through the, the fine holes in between the sand. Okay? But you take something hard like a piece of ice, you put it on the sand, it cannot go through, right? Uh, so same with our mind. Your mind is hard and rigid. uh, it cannot easily discern the subtle objects. Okay? So, but if your mind is soft, is relaxed, and you can easily go into and feel clearly uh, the more subtle objects. That's why the other day I mentioned that when you note the rising, falling, you must force the mind into the object. You force the mind becomes and rigid. So your noting mind must be soft and relaxed and peaceful, uh, energetic. Without energy, also you cannot note. uh, Subtle objects, especially, you need a lot of effort, okay, to note consistently, keep feeling into the object, feeling into it, uh, to feel its nature. Okay? But the noting mind itself must be soft. mm, mm, yeah, yeah. However, so first you must make effort to make the sensation even as it becomes more and more subtle. uh, uh, so, however, if you find that it becomes too subtle that you cannot uh, note it properly, uh, then uh, you can return to noting of rising and falling. Okay, but first make effort. Okay, and if you make effort, uh, you train yourself, your mind is skillful enough, you can note, pick up even the subtle objects. Eventually, all yogis have to learn to note subtle objects. Okay,
Yang buat ngangetin itu.
so
Apa namanya?
so you note. If you can note, then you can even discern the subtle objects disappear.
Iya, jadi papa nggak ngerti.
So, usually, as the practice progresses, objects also becomes more and more subtle, more and more refined. So you have to train the mind to note even subtle objects. Okay? Only if you find that it becomes too and hardly discern anything, then only you bring your attention back to the rising, falling. Mm. When you are doing sitting meditation, your eyes is closed, so you do not see anything outside. Okay? But sometimes images may arise. So in your mind, right? So images arise and not seeing, not firmly. Uh, you not firmly, image will disappear. Okay? And then you return to noting rising, falling. Uh, Also, smell also seldom arise when you are doing sitting meditation. Occasionally, certain smell may arise. uh, So, so you do smell something, just not the experience of smelling, not smelling. And then once experience disappear, again return the attention to note the rising, falling. Mm. Again, when you turn your attention, must be whole attention, completely to the new experience, note it. And once it disappear, you're aware it disappear, and then return the whole attention and back to noting of the rising, falling. Mhm. 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 And of course, there's the thinking mind, thinking, wandering, restless mind. Now, this should always be noted, because the fact that the mind is thinking, is wandering, is restless, uh, it means it's already distracted from rising, falling. Okay, so it's unlike uh, sound or physical sensation or smell. But this one, if it's a mild object, you can still remain you're noting the rising, falling. But with thinking, wandering mind, restlessness, the mind is already distracted from the rising, falling. So it must be noted immediately. Okay? As soon as you're aware the mind is wandering, is thinking, is restless, immediately you must turn your attention and note the thinking mind, the wandering mind, the restlessness. When you note the thinking mind, wandering mind, so on, again, don't dwell into the story behind it. There'll be no end to it. So in the mind, when you're noting, thinking, wandering, and so on, in your mind, like you take a step back from the thinking mind, from the wandering mind. Okay? Take a step back, detach from the thinking, detach from the wandering. Okay? Detach from it and simply note the state of mind as it is. So if the mind is in the state of thinking, just note thinking, thinking, thinking. If the mind is in a restless state, just note restless, restless, restless. If it's wandering, just note wandering, wandering, and so on. Note it as it is, and not firmly and wholeheartedly. Okay? Not half noting, because the instructions say you must note, so you note. Okay? But the other half of the mind is still at the back, secretly delighting in the thought. Okay? In this way, if you note like this, the thinking will never stop, because you're still feeding energy into it by delighting in it. Okay? So you must divert all the mental energy, all the mental effort into firmly noting with mindfulness, noting the thinking, the wondering, noting without entertaining any thoughts of delighting in the thinking. Okay? So if you note in this way, you note firmly in this way, the thoughts should disappear after a few noting. Yeah? If your noting is very powerful, the mindfulness is very firm, very strong. Sometimes just one noting will disappear. Mm. So when it disappear again, be clearly aware of it disappearing. Then return immediately to noting of the rising, falling. Okay? Mm. So similarly, other states of mind, especially unwholesome states of mind, the defilements, uh, especially those connected with the five hindrances, should be noted. So states of mind such as uh, desire, attachment, delighting, enjoying, or dislike, aversion, or sloth and torpor, laziness, tiredness, or the restlessness we already mentioned. restlessness or remorse, worry, anxiety, or wavering doubt. uh, all such mental states, as soon as they arise, must be noted with firm mindfulness. Okay? Mm. And when you note them again, don't get drawn into the story. Okay? You note anger, just note anger, anger. I don't dwell into why you're angry, who you're angry with, and so on. Yeah? Anger, just anger. If desire, just desire, and so on. So you note it firmly, it will disappear. Okay? Once it disappear, then again immediately return to noting of rising and falling. And so you notice from all this that there is actually a system of noting, a systematic way of noting. Okay? So you always begin your meditation, sitting meditation with the primary object, noting a primary object, rising, falling, rising, falling. So as long as there is no other secondary object that is more prominent than the primary object, yeah, you remain with the primary object. Okay? So primary object is like a home. So you have nothing to do outside of the home. What do? You go back home, right? Uh, so, but once you have some business to do outside, what do? You go outside, right? And when you leave completely from your home in order to settle the business outside. Okay, so you don't put one leg in your house and then one leg outside your house and then go and do the settle the business. You leave completely, go wherever you need to go and do it. Yeah? Once finished, then only you return completely back to your house. Right? So similarly, so nothing to do outside, you stay at home. Right? So stay with the rising, falling. Okay? And once a secondary object that is prominent arise, you immediately turn your whole attention to the secondary object. You note it continuously until it disappear. Once it disappear, immediately your attention uh, return to the primary object. You go back home. Okay? Uh, so there's this system of noting. Okay? So we start with the primary object. When the secondary object arises, you note and disappear, you come back and you stay again with the primary object. Stay continuously with it until another secondary object arises. Again, you note, disappear, again, you come back. Again and again, you always come back uh, to the primary object. And you should spend uh, most of your time with the primary object. Okay? Only note the secondary object when it's prominent, when it's necessary. Okay? Mm. So, so yogi must train the mind, discipline the mind to follow this system of noting. Okay? So if you train the mind, discipline the mind to follow this system of noting, you find that uh, the mind is always noting. The noting mind always go on continuously noting, non-stop. Okay? At any one moment in time, it is always noting. It's either noting the primary object or it is noting a secondary object. But noting is going on, moment to moment to moment. Okay? Mm. So yeah, developing the mindfulness through this continuous mindful noting. Mm. This is what the Buddha called anupassana. Anupassana means continuous, energetic, precise noting. Okay, so this is what you are training to do right now by following this method of noting. Okay? You're training the mind to note continuously, moment to moment to moment, and relentlessly, continuously, without any gaps in between. Okay? And every time you note, you make effort to discern clearly. huh? And you make effort to note precisely, clearly. Okay? That is anupassana. Okay? That is the practice of satipatthana. Okay? And this continuity of mindfulness will lead gradually as the mindfulness becomes stronger, develops stronger and stronger. uh, this will lead eventually to establishing anicca samadhi, momentary concentration. Okay, so this is important. Very important that the yogi train the mind, discipline the mind to follow this method of noting. Okay? Now, of course, it's not easy. Okay, Mm. especially for beginners, it's not easy. So, mm, but you have to discipline. So think of it like you're a baby learning to walk. uh. So when a baby, you look at adults walking, he also very eager to walk, right? So he try to get up, hold on to something, get up. Okay? But the leg is weak. So I get up, I fall down because the leg cannot hold it up. Okay? But the baby does not give up, right? So he's very determined to walk. So he never give up. He fall down, he pick himself up again to get up. He fall down again, he pick himself up again. Again and again he try, get up, get up, get up. As it do so, the legs become stronger and stronger. uh. Eventually strong enough, he can stand. uh. Then after that, so you train further, and then you can take one step before falling down. Okay? And then after that, two steps, and three steps, and four steps, and then on and on. Eventually, he can walk. Eventually, he can even run. Mm. Uh, so, so yogis also must take a lesson from the baby, the determination of the baby, never giving up. It's a very strong desire to walk. Okay? So yogis who are practicing here with very strong desire to be free from suffering. So you must train yourself. At first it's difficult, but you try again and again. No, and my wonders, not the wandering, and bring the attention back, you re-establish the mindfulness, you start again. You wander again you re-establish. Again and again you start. huh? Just like the baby. huh? So eventually, you do this again and again. Each moment of noting, um, mindfulness becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. So as it becomes stronger and stronger, you find it starts to become more and more continuous. So noting also becomes easier and easier. Okay? So eventually, you develop sufficiently, then concentration will develop. Then insight will develop. Yeah? So slowly, bit by bit, you train the mind, but you have to be very determined, very energetic, very determined. Yeah? Um, Never give up. You have the spirit of never giving up. Okay? I just say, no retreat, no surrender. Mm, Pushing on. Okay? Yogi must have the spirit of a warrior, courageous, and facing any difficulty. The more difficult it is, the more effort you put into overcome the difficulty. If you practice with this attitude, you'll be able to overcome any obstacle on your path and be able to make progress in your practice. Uh, Okay, it's late already. We stop here today.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Walking meditation half an hour, then sitting half an hour, and then meeting.